All right, I wanted to take a look at both 10 and 11. 10 because we're just a little rushed today in class. I feel like my explanation could have been more clear here. So for 10, right, we kind of see this limit we talked about. You know, we have the two different versions of the limit formula, and so we go, okay, well, we see this h goes to 0. And the version of that we usually see is f prime of x is the limit as h goes to 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, right? So we have the h goes to 0. We also have the h part on the bottom. So, okay, this is looking good. Now, this is going to give us a general function. So this is the general derivative function. So this gives us the slope of the tangent line anywhere we want. But if we want to say, okay, well, specifically at some spot, x equals a, right? A is usually a specific number. So we can say, well, once I have that formula, right, I could just plug in a value a, and this thing would look, it should look the same way. So this would be f of a plus h minus f of a over h. And I think this is the part that was maybe a little bit unclear when we were doing this together. So this is not going to be a general function. It's going to be a specific derivative, right? Specific slope of the tangent line when x equals a. So what we have, right, the given piece here, the limit that we have, we can start lining that up. So here's our given limit. We've got h goes to 0. I'm just rewriting what was given to us. Square root of 81 plus h minus 9 all over h. So this is what we were given. So we start lining up the pieces, right? We start saying, well, okay, what works out between these? Well, the limit as h goes to 0, same for both. H, same for both. So what do we have? We've got f of a plus h. In the blue version, that's got to line up with the square root of 81 plus h in the black version. So that's one thing that we have. The other thing that we have is that f of a is equal to 9, right? The blue is f of a, the black says 9. So those things have to line up. Now, the nice thing about this is we can kind of piece our way through this a little bit and say, hey, wait a minute. If I have the plus h portion of this, right, we see, right, plus h, then what we're saying is, okay, then the a portion of this, let me use a different color, maybe, oh, I don't know, purple might come out a little bit more clear. So a here has got to line up with 81. So this was the part where we said, oh, okay, cool. So a has got to be 81. So what that meant was f of a is really f of 81. That's equal to 9. So we did say this in class, right? We said that a is 81. Let me go back over here. And so we just had to figure out, well, what function is f of x? So if we say to ourselves, well, f of a plus h, well, a is 81, so f of 81 plus h was the square root of 81 plus h, right? Then we go, well, if I took the stuff inside, right, the 81 plus h, if I replace that, if I said, well, what does f of x look like then, right? If I replace that inside stuff with x instead, then I guess I would get the square root of x, right? We see the same stuff that's in the parentheses show up under the square root. So if we replace that stuff with x, then we replace the stuff under the square root with x. So like we had gotten in class, this was square root of x, but I just wanted to try to make that a little bit more clear. I did mention in class, like, these are a little tricky and you got to kind of toy around a little bit with the different definitions and try to piece a few things together. So they just take a little practice.